Welcome to the Strategy Mob Podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here with Digital Dealership Solutions. Today, I have a very special guest, Kevin. Kevin, how do I say your last name? I want to make sure I do it right.
LeSage.
LeSage. Okay, I was going to see up here being in Canada. There's a lot of that's I would have gone the French direction.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, I wanted to take the time, man. Thank you so much for coming to jam with me today. I really appreciate it. For the people out there that are listening and watching right now, Kevin, and kind of don't know about your background and kind of how you got started in the industry, if we can kind of start off with the 2-minute origin story that is Kevin.
Of course, yeah, I'd love to.
That'd be a great place for us to start.
So my name's Kevin LeSage. I've been with Cox Automotive for about 8.5 years now. I'm currently the Director of Digital Marketing for Autotrader. Started my career with Dealer.com, so I was launching SEO and advertising for hundreds, if not thousands of dealerships across the US. So getting my hands dirty in SEO and pay-per-click strategy is really one of my favorite things to do in the job. Focus on driving that quality traffic to the website, right? And those are two of the best ways to do it. After that, I did account management for a couple of years, went into sales, and I succeeded in sales. I did really well because I was always using data and analytics when I was having conversations with dealers. You know, I feel like there's a lot of snake oil in this industry. And when you can take the theory out of it and bring in the numbers and actually show dealers what's working, what's not working, it becomes a much more comprehensible conversation and much more actionable to understand where your marketing dollars are most efficient. That actually led me into being the product manager for analytics across Cox. So Kelley Blue Book, Autotrader, Dealer.com. One of the big things that I'm proud of that we did during that time was we started measuring every single visit that hits a Dealer.com website based on likelihood that that visit is actually going to buy a car. So if you think about it, we reverse engineered sales that we had in VIN Solutions, CRM, and we looked at what all of these people did leading up to buying cars on Dealer.com websites. And we had, PhD data scientists actually write an algorithm to score each visit 0 to 100. So 0 is a score, on the website for 2 seconds left, didn't do anything. Score 100 is someone that submitted a form submission and is already in your CRM. So you can just quickly see the difference there.
And based on their behavior, kind of give that probability of how hot or cold they may or may not be.
I like to say, you measure buying signals on your showroom floor every day. We help you measure buying signals online. So from there, what I found was a great opportunity to partner up with Autotrader. And since May now, I've been their Director of Digital Marketing, really helping from a marketing, product, sales strategy perspective. So it's been a great run so far. And getting a chance to talk to you about some of the data trends we're seeing in the industry today, some opportunity, I'm excited to get into it.
No, this is going to be a lot of fun. And definitely when we talk about data trends, talk about source of data. Just so the people out there kind of know, how many rooftops does Dealer.com have?
Well, so that's one brand, right? Dealer.com has about 12,000 live automotive websites right now. Across the U.S. But then Cox Automotive owns Dealer.com. They own Autotrader. They own Kelley Blue Book.
So you're collecting all of this information. I imagine it's tens of thousands of data points at this point, right?
Oh, yeah. There's a team of people, and like I was saying earlier, PhD data scientists and data engineers, a whole lot of effort to put, to connect those dots and then start driving value, accumulating that data. That's actually the difficult part, right? Accumulating is one thing, but pulling insights and building product from insights is a completely different story.
And I think insights is kind of a great place for us to start, right? Because when we look at that data, there's insights that we can use towards our operations efforts. There's insights that we can use towards our marketing efforts. There are insights that we should be holding our vendors accountable for.
Of course.
And there's insights that, we should be holding ourselves accountable as well. When you're because you talk to a lot of dealerships, you've been in and out of a lot of dealerships. So I imagine you've seen dealerships that embrace data and the usage of it and actively puts it into their marketing and their operations. And then you have some that are just like, I call kind of like data denial.
Like,
Or
let's just stick it in the wind.
Yeah, pretty much, right? They're just like, yeah, I'm going to go more with my gut or my feeling. So, I think that, but I also think there's a whole lot of people that are in between. And I think that's a kind of a great place for us to start, are the people that are kind of in between, that maybe they don't necessarily trust the data 100%, but they understand that there's value in looking at the data, but there's just so much, for a dealership, where do you recommend to start? Like, how do you start?
Yeah, I mean, you got to start with the constant, right? I like to always think of digital marketing almost like a science experiment. You have to start with a base, a foundation, before we start saying, is X going to drive more value, right? We need a base measurement before we even get into anything. And it doesn't have to be complicated, Jason. I work with some dealerships that hire the PhD data scientists themselves, right? And they're connecting a lot of them, the dots internally. But what I like to tell dealers is the simplest way I can break down digital marketing is the quality in to the website and the conversion of that traffic. So quality in, conversion out. And if you do those two things well, which are easy to measure, you can drive a very profitable digital strategy. And focus on the foundations. There is no secret sauce to digital marketing where you're going to see sales increase 200% in a week or anything like that.
I think that's a really important point, right? Like, there's not a secret sauce. There is no magic diet pill. Like, this is not, we don't have the go button where we just kind of go or hit the easy button. We just kind of hit it, and it's like everything just kind of happens, right? Like, this does take time. It is a commitment and a routine. So speaking of that, kind of that commitment and that routine is, where would you tell people to start? I like the quality. So It's like, let's start looking at that. How do they determine their current efforts are, let's say, of quality?
Yeah. So if I'm a dealership today, your average dealership, I really have a couple options. I can, one, completely trust and use the vendor performance data that they're sending to me. And hopefully your vendors are at least sending you some performance data. But keep in mind, if you're getting custom analytics, each KPI has to be defined, right? So how long is a visit? Things like just little simple things like that. So what I would say is, if you have no resources at your fingertips today, use the free ones available, right? Like Dealer.com, Autotrader, we invested a lot of money in proprietary analytic platforms to make it very easy for dealers. It's an automotive specific based report that makes it very easy for you to quickly understand at a very good level what's working, what's not working. Once you have that data coming in, what I would say is, okay, now let's protect ourselves and build out our own custom analytics dashboard through Google, right? That's something that if I change my website provider, my PPC provider, whatever happens in my digital strategy, that can't be taken away from me. I can move my GA tag to whatever website I want, and I can still accumulate that data internally. And I think dealerships just doing that, finding someone at the dealership that's interested in learning more. There's free resources out there with Google. Put the GA code on your website and start playing with the tool, right? That's how most people learn, is actually getting their hands dirty and start messing around in there. Ask questions. And in this industry, there are a lot of people willing to sit down and help you, right? You have consultants, you have vendors that'll come in. And we're all at this point, I would say, data savvy to an extent, right?
Yes.
So there's a lot to learn.
I think we all believe the data. We trust it, that it's there. It's just I feel that for a good chunk of the dealers that I end up consulting with, it's like they don't want to take the time. It's a time thing, to educate themselves on what is a source report.
I just don't agree with that. If you're spending hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, and you don't have time,
I know.
I could never see myself in those shoes approaching my return on investment conversation that way.
Well, it's like they want to check off like the proverbial box that they had done their marketing, and then that's it. It's like, well, you know what? I cut my check. All right. My vendor's doing it
too.
They're just doing it.
Well, I see a lot too, which is great. It's step one is I got GA, right? I got Google Analytics Live, the tags on the site. I now have my holy grail of data. But the fact is, Google Analytics is the same analytics tool a Chinese restaurant uses as your dealership, right? It's
Exactly.
not custom until you custom your goals and your conversions, and you build out the report specific to your needs and your business. So what worries me a lot is I see Google Analytics reports that have never been customized. There's no goals, and they're really just measuring, session duration, visitors, things like that. And that has no quality KPIs to it. I can argue session duration and, time on site or bounce rate are KPIs that aren't as relevant as they used to be when it comes to efficient marketing. And those are stock KPIs you get with Google Analytics. So it's more than just putting the website or the tag on your website and getting the report. Now you have to customize it, build your goals, identify what a VDP page is, a VLP, a form submission. Once you've done that, then I say you now have a good internal data strategy that you can manage, and now use it as checks and balances with some of your other vendor reports. I'm a big believer in vendor reports, and I think there's a lot of value to it, and building out something easy for dealers. So you don't have to go into Google Analytics and customize that, because there is some time effort there. Mm-hmm. But Jason, once it's built, the data's flowing in, and there's not much else you have to do.
So let's talk about building it, because I think that's key. I think a lot of people go, well, I get asked the question a lot, it's okay, well, Jay, how do I build it? Right. Well, I'm like, there's this really cool, free resource out there. It's called Google. You just go in there and you ask a question of how to set a goal and objective or install a GA code. And surprisingly, you're going to find a million responses on how you can actually do that. So it's first thing, it's just making the commitment to putting the time in. And then the second thing is, I think for a dealership is really defining out what their goals and objectives are. Mm-hmm. Because I am always surprised when I sit down with a dealership and a vendor to find out that the vendor's goal and objectives for their marketing efforts is not necessarily what the dealership's goal and objectives are. It's like the dealership
don't get paid on impressions.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like they have a goal and objective. The vendor's got a goal objective of this, and this, but then the dealership wants this, and this, and they're not, I don't know, they just don't seem to be connecting with each other. So to your point, I think it's incredibly important that the dealership, all right, does set what their actual goals and objectives are. I mean, if I'm going to go spend, $10,000 this month on a Nissan Rogue campaign, which, let's say I'll use the Rogue. I'm going to pick on the Rogue a little bit because it's old. And, as far as it's a segment space, it's getting a little long in the tooth, right? So it's like, okay, fine. I understand that. So I'm going to put some competitive creative out there to really try to highlight the benefits of it, maybe over some of its competition. But I need to know what my ultimate goal and objective is. Do I just wanting to get eyeballs? Do I want people to take an action?
It's funny. I always say it's obvious when I'm talking to dealers, no one really wants eyeballs, right? They want the low-hanging people that are in market that are going to buy now.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So no, I totally understand. And that's one of the beauties to Google Analytics is every dealer is going to want to measure their website a little differently. And they're going to be more focused on this KPI than that KPI. And that is where Google Analytics value really steps in, because a vendor's analytics platform is something that scales for everyone, right? Like Dealer.com analytics is going to be the same analytics dashboard every dealership gets. Obviously, the data is different, and you can customize the reports a certain way, but the way we define things, the way we measure certain things is going to be the same across everything. So as a dealership in Google Analytics, you can build out whatever you really want.
Well, look, at the sales floor, we do this. We do a really good job of this, right? We define clearly what our goals and objectives are, all right? We will reverse engineer those goals and objectives. I want to sell 120 Nissan Rogues this month, all right? My closing ratio is a little over 33%, all right? I need to get 320 people through the door, actually a little bit more than that, because my test drive ratio is right around 75 to 85, which correlates to my closing ratio. So really I need to get about 400 some odd people to come to the door. So it's like we do that. We reverse engineer our sales goals, right, and then come to our website. We'll just kind of let it do its thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's actually my favorite analogy that I love sharing with dealers around quality measurement. Is if I'm a sales rep at your dealership and it's Saturday morning and there's 2 visitors on our lot, right? And I look out the window and one visitor is sitting in the driver's seat of the car. They're playing with radio dials. They're moving the seat so it fits them just right. Then you look at the other side of the lot and you have the other shopper quickly scanning the aisle, walking on and talking on their phone. Every single sales rep is conditioned to approach the person showing more buying signals, right?
100%. Because
we want to spend our time with the best opportunities. So when you think about it online and how do dealerships define quality, when I ask dealers, how do you define quality online? I get all these random answers, right? Yep. But the reality is this is something they're doing every single day on their showroom. And when you can help transition that quality identifying to online and make it easy for dealers to understand that their time is best spent with the opportunities that are showing these engagements and doing these things online, it becomes obviously much more efficient for the dealer and their marketing budget goes farther.
Well, and I also find that we'll actually take the time to focus on what's going on online. Again, see, like I said, in the sales floor, we'll reverse engineer the crap out of it. So we know all the activities and all the efforts required to get to the ultimate goal and objective, right?
Yep.
Your goal and objective to increase the amount of people that are coming in on your rogue, or maybe the amount of scheduled test drives. I mean, that's a clear one. That's a good one, right? It's not just marketing. It's like the path from marketing to website to in dealership, these have to be all kind of correlated and connected with each other. But for some odd reason, we kind of treat our marketing and our website as kind of like this thing over there. And then my physical dealership is this entity over here. And, how they kind of connect and correlate with each other, I don't know. We just seem to think that there are two different spaces. In reality, they're not. They're the same. That's the
right.
So it's like, how do we do that? Because the other day, I had a dealership the other day is tell me that they wanted more test drive forms filled out. At the end of the day, Jason, I just want more forms. Can you just give me more forms? I need more leads. I love that word. But I'm like, well, then what's the value proposition for someone to fill this thing out? Your marketing efforts are doing this, right? You're bringing them to the website, but your test drive form is just literally name, date, blood type, shoe size, firstborn, there's no built-in, we have to think of marketing not just as this set of creative, but as a strategic part or the initial part to your sales operations.
Yeah. So marketing's job is to get them through the front door, but the biggest opportunity and the biggggest conversation I see in the industry today is the experience once they get there to talk about how these aren't two separate entities, right? If I fill out a form to schedule a test drive, which very small % of people are ever going to do in the first place, schedule a test drive form.
Because there's no value to. There's
exactly.
Why?
When I come to the dealership, I would hope that the car's up front, it's ready, the keys are there, right? But what happens when you get to the dealership? Who are you? What can we help you with, right? It's like, no, I've taken all of this time already, given you my personal information. I don't want to start over again.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, schedule test drive lead form is just a very basic form of digital retailing. So it's like when you can get digital retailing accomplished online and then the consumer comes into the store, if you drop the ball and experience there, you got them at the finish line and then messed up, right?
Yep.
That's where I see some of the biggest opportunity online today is creating that experience for the consumer in store. And that's where I would use my call to action, right? Not schedule a test drive, but some value add to why they would want to do business with me, right?
I love the fact that you said that because you review a lot of dealerships' marketing efforts and the amount of single image display ads and text ads that are focusing on one thing and one thing only of just price and payment. But we know that there's a lot more reasons why someone's ultimately going to come in and do business with us. I think it's down to 3 different categories. In fact, actually, I'm going to put a white paper out pretty soon about this. We as a team, we reviewed a little over 1,000, dealership reviews from multiple sources. Okay. And we were looking for just simply asking the question, why does someone ultimately purchase or ultimately not purchase from you? It was really kind of funny because the same 3 reasons why they purchased was actually the same 3 reasons why they didn't purchase.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And it came consistent. Like the keywords were consistent. It came down to people, the amount of times that a person's name was used, Susan was amazing, or John never followed up with me, or, it's like people was a big part of it, right? Then it was product was in there. Obviously that was used a lot. And then what I call experience, the word experience was used a lot. Actually one of the most commonly used words in reviews, both in negative and positive reviews, right? It was a horrible experience. It was a great experience. But really what the consumer is saying is they're talking about operations, because that's where the experience is. Yeah. See, the experience is our operations, and our operational experience starts online.
Yep. There's this, one of my favorite quotes is years ago, I was talking to a GM and he got off. It was an old school GM. And he's like, man, years ago, they used to come in and get pamphlets. And that was easy because I had my sales staff trained, if they come in asking for a pamphlet, keep them in the dealership, let's answer their questions, blah, blah, blah. And I like to say it's not about getting people to your dealership anymore. It's about getting your dealership to the people, right? And
I like that one.
There's great tools out there to actually accomplish that today. And then the tricky part of it is this is America, in the United States, we have 3 to 5% of Americans actually in market to buy a car. I don't know if that's America, Canada or not.
We're just shy of 4%.
Okay. So the trick now to marketing is, how do I get that 3 to 5% on my website and not waste my marketing spend on that other 95% of consumers that aren't in market to buy a car? Mm-hmm. I'm all about creating demand, high funnel, right? And there's tools to do that, get your brand out there. But like I was saying earlier, dealers want leads now, right? They want that low funnel shopper that's going to be buying a car in the next couple of weeks. So it was really interesting when we started scoring every visit to the dealer.com websites to understand, where our highest quality shoppers coming in from. And we've been doing that now for, I would say, a little over 3 years. So a very easy way to explain it: every visit gets a score of 0 to 100. A score of 0, they showed no buying signals, no engagement on the site for less than 3 seconds. A score of 100, looked at multiple VDPs, they've filled out a form, they're in your CRM, they're a very engaged shopper.
Sure.
So when we started analyzing the quality versus just the quantity, the key metric that I want every dealer here to really understand is the average metric was 30 to 40% of all traffic to dealers' websites was a complete waste. Mm-hmm. They never showed engagement. There was no buying signals, right?
Yep.
So I think the trap for auto dealers is, they see that cool new tool that gets the new shoppers to the website. They get promised all these visits. But like we joked about before, Jason, it's not hard to get visits, right? It's hard to get in-market visits that are actually going to buy a car.
People that actually care.
Exactly. Yeah. And dealers, it's funny, they'll turn on Google Analytics and they're like, why am I getting traffic from India? And I'm like, well, this is why we have Google Analytics, right? We're going to figure out where that traffic's coming from, and make sure it's not being spent from any marketing budget or any vendor or anything like that. And then let's fix the problem. Let's figure out what works, what doesn't, and then invest where we see success. That's it. That's all I try to do.
And I think for dealerships to really kind of help make that number smaller, right? That you said it was between 30 to 40% of just wasted.
Correct.
Low quality.
40% on site for less than 3 seconds, never looked at inventory, never submitted forms or put a vehicle in a shopping cart, anything.
They were there, they were out, right? It's really pushing our vendors to report back to us as far as what their targeting parameters are.
Yep.
It's like for someone,
transparency too.
That's what it is. It's like, I was in a meeting the other day. It was a webinar. I got asked to come in and just say, Jay, can you hear what these guys have? Yeah, sure. No problem. Right. And, of course I pushed a little bit and just asked them what were the targeting parameters? What was their what was it? Yeah. Like, what are you optimizing for? And they just could not or would not, right, tell me like it was some type of secret sauce.
Proprietary strategy.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a crock of shit. Like, I'm just like, it's like, no, it's cool. Like, as a company, this dealership is totally cool with paying you to execute on this. All they're asking for is to understand, who are you targeting? Is it in market? Are we combining in market with behavior? Are we combining in market with behavior and demographic? Like, how far down that rabbit hole of targeting parameters are you going to bring this traffic in? But I think it's up to the dealerships for them to at least understand what are the targeting options out there right now.
And that's huge too, because it does 2 things. One is it puts the vendor on the hot seat a little bit, right? To make sure that they're answering the questions that the dealers are looking for correctly. But two, the smartest dealers I work with love talking to different vendors and asking those questions because they're learning something different from every single one. I could think back to, 8 years ago when I had my first client as an account manager, and we're still friends to this day. He's a great friend of mine. And he tells me, like, if you talk to him today, you would think he's a digital marketing expert. But for the last 8 years, he's been learning from every vendor that comes in, and he asks some tough questions.
Yeah.
And the strategy he learns, he asks the next vendor and he says, is this true? And he kind of, takes all of this information in and then makes his own judgment with it all. So I think that, the smart dealers today are really listening to a lot of the pitches, but with an open mind, trying to learn at the same time, because it's always changing. This industry is moving extremely fast, and there's so much to learn. Even someone like both of us that are trying to, stay on the tip of the spear. New Google algorithm, new this, new that, and
everything's changing. You know what's funny? Let's talk about change. I think that's a great direction for us to kind of head into. There's a topic that I just don't see a lot of people talking about right now, and it's frustrating me a little bit. But as an industry, because I've been doing this for a long time on the digital side, I started doing Google AdWords in 2005. And it's just back then it was crazy. We talked a little bit earlier with the Wild Wild West, right? But there are some things that are changing over the next 24 months that I don't see people talking about. As an industry, we built monster strategies around remarketing.
Yep.
It's disappearing, and I don't hear anybody talking about it. It's like if you recently downloaded, or you have an iPhone, you recently downloaded the new iOS 13, right? You have 24 hours worth of remarketing now on that device. Chrome is talking about, now Google Chrome, obviously one of the last ones because they own Google. They're going to try to go as long as they possibly can. But they're saying over the next 2 years that they're going to no cookies at all. Like, it's done, right? Yeah. And how they're redefining, how a thumbprint is created behind that person. That's changing. I mean, I noticed that even, 3 years ago, I had remarketing buckets for dealerships that were 30, 40, 50, 60,000 people. And now they're down to 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people, but I don't hear anybody talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, the data privacy laws, right? I think it opens opportunities if you understand it correctly. And what what you're referring to, the ITP, the intelligent prevention technology, ITP, intelligent tracking prevention. Sorry, that's where Apple's now only allowing the cookie to live for 24 hours, right? So it is changing, but there's opportunity there. I agree. If you think what we're doing anyway, and what I think and where I see the industry moving in the next couple of years, is we're building out consumer profile insights and really what's called like identity graphs. So we take all of that Cox Automotive data and we connect the dots to build out consumer profile insights. So we can start identifying when people are now in market. Yes. So a good example, my wife's pregnant right now with our second kid. We realize we need a bigger vehicle. We're looking at KBB trade evals. We're looking at getting a used Subaru in Vermont, right? All of those two things I just mentioned are huge indicators that now our household, our family is in market for another car. So this should indicate local dealerships, OEMs, that we should start marketing them. And if they're smart in connecting all of that data correctly using third-party and first-party data, they would know that my wife's pregnant, we're looking for a bigger car, they know our credit scores are. You can accumulate all of this data. Yep. So this really starts driving into what I think is the hottest topic in automotive in the next couple of years from a marketing perspective, which is going to be personalization.
Yes, I completely agree. Now, real quick before we get in there, because third party and first party, like everybody hears it, but I think there's probably a lot of people listening or watching around that don't necessarily understand what the difference is there. You want to take a minute?
I'll explain it from our perspective and then the dealers. So when I say first party, I'm talking Cox Automotive. Yep. So that's us bringing our own data into a data resource pool, and then on top of our data from Autotrader, vAuto, Dealer.com, we're now going to pull in consumer data as well from other third-party data that are not affiliated with us today. We're working with multiple different providers out there today. to actually tell us that Kevin LeSage has a credit score of X. He's married. He has a son now, a daughter on the way. He drives a white Toyota Tundra, right? All of this information about people, but then graphing it and actually being able to use it in a proactive manner for marketing.
Yes.
So for a dealership, first-party data is all of those names in your CRM that are just sitting there accumulating dust in most cases, right? You have all of this unique information about these people, if they're leasing, if they finance, if they're a truck shopper, they're, all of that information.
Oh, we have tons. I mean,
right.
If they're male, they're female, their age, yeah, we know how often they came into the dealership. There's so many touch points, that we have.
So for a dealership, that would be their first party data.
Yep.
And then we'd be going out and getting additional data to support that, and then being able to drive a proactive marketing strategy, knowing that we can target people based off life events. So I think that's the craziest part, right? If I'm shopping now for a bigger car, what if an ad, so this is personalization where I see this going. I'm shopping online for whatever, and I see an ad that says, get out of your lease early, upgrade to a vehicle with twice the legroom and a third row seat, and free baby seat included with purchase.
There you go.
Right? There you go. There's that incentive you were talking about when we were talking about schedule a test drive, right? Now, all of a sudden, you've got my attention. It's relevant to me. And I'd be like a fly in a black light clicking that ad. I'd just fly right into it, right? Because it would grab my attention, right person, right place, right time. It hits all three of those boxes.
Well, it's targeting the audience. So right now, I feel like for a lot of vendors out there, maybe even still a lot of dealerships, they're still participating in this like shotgun approach when it comes to their digital marketing efforts. It's just the spray and pray method, and just hopefully that one of these pieces are going to be relevant to somebody. But it's
email blast everyone in the CRM.
Yeah, let me just blast the entire audience, right? Let me not just actually take the information that I have, all right, and realize that, hey, this is an older audience. Why they may be interested in this car is going to be entirely different to this family audience.
So why are we showing them the same ad, right?
This has always blown my mind. Like I don't.
Yeah. I think, and this is more than just automotive marketing, but I'm looking forward to a world where I watch TV and go online, and I only see dog food ads because I have dog food. I don't see cat food, right? And when I see ads that are relevant to me, the brand that I buy a lot of my shirts from know this, and they advertise to me with % discounts off for Christmas or Valentine's Day, whatever it is, right? Like, think about a world like you're going to be advertised to anyway, Jason. We all are, right?
And I have no problem with it.
Rather than be more relevant to us.
I want a business to feel like they know me. I want them, it's what I love about my Prime Video and my Netflix and my Hulu and stuff like that. It's like I go on there and it's like I feel like that company knows me. Like they just fed up a new series about this sci-fi, and I was like, all right, they know me.
Not only are today a lot of companies driving a poor consumer experience for ads that I have zero interest in, then they're spending money on it. Yeah. So poor consumer experience and wasted marketing spend. You would think we would have a good solution to kill those two birds with one stone. And once that problem is solved, and I think the younger generation is more apt to sharing some of that data, their personal data. So I think over time, with privacy laws, and we'll see where that lands, and the younger generation getting older, I look forward to a world, and I would actually even spend $50 a month if they would just target me through my cable with ads that were relevant, and I could only get relevant ads because it would assist me in my shopping, right?
Yes. It would be helpful. That's the key. It'd be helpful. It wouldn't look like it's a nuisance. It's like I am willing to give up my information as far as how old I am and my buying habits and how many kids I have, and so that the experience I get, because to your point, I'm gonna get marketed to anyways. Like I know they're gonna do it, right? At least make it relevant to me.
The automotive opportunity here is, what if I got an ad that said, hey, your Tundra holds the most value if traded in the next 3 months, based off your mileage, based off all of the data that we already know about your Tundra. And all of a sudden, now you're assisting me, in my shopping experience and my ownership process, right? There could be little key things that we could deliver along that way in a personalized message to help the consumer and educate the consumer, not making an annoying ad that's just, I have to mute when I'm watching my TV and then pick up my phone or something, right?
Yeah. $5,000 off.
Yeah,
low interest rates, huge discounts.
Yeah. Imagine instead of something wasted like that, it was relevant to you, free baby seat included, whatever the case was. So to your point of where I see the industry moving in the next few years, there is silly opportunity in personalization. And I'll throw out a quick dealership stat for you too.
Cool.
At dealer.com, we have some exclusive contracts with OEMs. So an OEM has all of their websites in the US with dealer.com. So it's a really good tool for me to go in and from a data perspective and look at how this entire OEM is performing, and I can drill down to what I'm looking for. So this OEM found a lot of value in personalization, and they actually bought it at the tier 1 level on dealer.com and then implemented it across all tier 3 sites. So now when users were going to a dealer.com site, they would get a customized experience on the website based off of the shopping behavior data we were accumulating from Autotrader and Kelley Blue Book.
That's cool.
A quick example, I'm on Autotrader looking at the white Toyota Tundra Pro model because I want to upgrade to the Pro. Then I go to my local Toyota Tier 3 dealership, and right on the homepage slideshow is a white Toyota Tundra Pro model, and it's relevant to me, right? No, obviously, we see click-through rates skyrocket on those slideshows when we have relevant ads to the consumer.
That's key, relevancy. It's what's key.
It's every business's foundation. Google, any search foundation is all off of relevancy today. We at Autotrader, we wrote our relevancy algorithm over the last year to focus on relevancy as our number one priority. To your point, it's the most important thing for anyone searching anything. So I looked at this dealership from like a 7-month date range, and I looked at how personalization on their tier 3 websites was actually impacted. We saw a 25% increase in engagement from personalized visits versus non-personalized visits. So it literally just goes to show that if you can customize the message, the ad, whatever it is, that make it relevant to the consumer, you are going to see higher click-through rates. You're going to see higher engagements because consumers are going to click those ads. They're going to engage more. They're going to show more buying signals, right? So even at a very base level, just saying they looked at these vehicles on KBB Autotrader, now let's do a slideshow of XYZ to connect those dots. Think about when we can connect the dots to the life events and know that my wife's pregnant and we're looking for a bigger car. And all of a sudden, every visit to your website gets a completely different experience. You're getting different experiences online, and that is where dealerships are going to find much more efficiency in their budget because everyone coming in is going to have that different experience, and they're going to be that much more likely to convert with that dealership.
And I think that, the key word that you said there is efficiency. Look, we're going into this new year, 2020, looked at a lot of forecasting, saw a lot of manufacturer forecasting. There's some slight increases. There's some in between, just flats. There's some that are going to be down a little bit. It's not going to be a big year for us, right? It's going to be pretty much what we saw in 2019. Efficiency is the key for everything. I think we do a pretty decent job looking at our operations for efficiency, but it's now, I think 2020 is the year to really start looking at your marketing and efficiency. And to your point, it's all about doing it for the customer, for that audience. Kevin, I know that's our time today, and I want to thank you so much for jamming with me. I'm pretty confident we're going to do this again soon.
A lot more.
I know, yeah. Like we could definitely fill a whole nother hour here. For anybody out there that's listening or watching, I would love to connect with you and learn more about what you guys are up to. What's the best way to do so?
Email me. My email is kevin.lesage, LESAGE @coxautoinc.com. I'd love to connect with you more, Jason. Connect with some of your followers, and obviously. At Autotrader, we're going to NADA in the next couple of weeks, right? We've got a lot of cool new stuff that we're delivering. We've recently completely rebuilt our analytics dashboard to bring real-time analytics from Autotrader behavior. A lot of connectivity with other brands. And again, the goal there is to find those efficiencies. And when you want technology to communicate with each other, right? That's why I have an iPhone and an Apple TV. So when I can't finish my movie on the flight home, I can come home and pick it up right where I left off.
It's a great experience, isn't it?
That's what it comes down to. Exactly. So I appreciate the time today. This was fun.
Thanks, Kevin. This was awesome. I look forward to doing it again soon.
Thank you.